Okay, cool. Good afternoon. I'm here to introduce Terri Ruman, who is a certified integrative nutrition health coach and the founder of Terri Total Health. With a strong passion for gut health, gut brain health, and longevity, she guides high-achieving professionals to renew their energy, prevent chronic illness, and age youthfully through natural, nourishing habits that support body, mind, and soul. And today, Terri is going to talk about the high cost of being everything to everyone. Terri,
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Cindy and the Natural Health Collaborative, for the opportunity to be here to speak to you all today. The high cost of being everything to everybody is so near and dear to my heart. Okay, because I feel like um, and growing up in a very small community. We just helped out each other constantly. So I lived in a very rural area growing up, had a mom and a brother, some animals. We had some dogs, some horses, some rabbits. And tell you, I was often praised for helping and doing more and doing more and doing more. Okay. And I think a lot of women, I'm not alone in that, we're praised for being givers and being the nurturers, to take care of each other, right? And so I, my mom got cancer one time, and I became, in that process, more parentified, I would say, because I took on a very strong caregiving role from that time forward. And my dad wasn't around because my parents were divorced. So I became the one, right, to take care of everything during that difficult time. So when I decided, what I want to do in my world, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed caregiving. So I became a social worker. And during that process, uh, I just became a natural giver. When you have a lot of clients and you're trying to balance all the different relationships you have just with one client, you have multiple relationships, right? So you're constantly in that giving mode. And I really loved it. But what I discovered was over time that it was kind of like a crab or a red lobster. So, do you know how red lobsters are cooked? You put the lobster right in a pot, and then you turn on the boiling water, and before you know it, the lobster gets cooked. Who can relate to that? Yeah, exactly. We all can relate to that because you don't know you're being cooked, but you are. And before you know it, you're dead meat. So, so I know you've got some questions for me, Dr. Phil. So I'm
I
gonna,
do.
yeah.
So many high achieving women are praised for being dependable and selfless. When does that strength quietly turn into self-sacrifice? And how can a woman recognize that she's crossed that line?
Okay, so yes, many women are very much praised as young girls for helping, achieving, taking care of other people, like I mentioned in my story. So over time, that identity becomes very much wired. into how we perceive our value in the world.
Mhm.
And the problem happens when we consistently override our own needs to meet everybody else's needs. So, a simple way to recognize this shift is when your body starts giving you messages of distress. So, for me, and you can maybe relate to as well, you start experiencing chronic fatigue or brain fog, digestive issues. Like I was a chronic person who had flatulence. Okay. Can you imagine being in a work environment where you constantly have that? You're going to the bathroom just to relieve yourself a lot, right? So you also have poor sleep. We can't sleep really good. And when you wake up, you don't feel refreshed no matter how many hours of sleep you get. You may have some strong irritability, headaches, achy joints, cravings. These are all signs that your body is in a survival mode now, and it's been there for way too long. So I encourage women really to look at their lives through four pillars of health to really turn things around. So, for example, the four pillars are nourishment, movement, restoration, and connection. And I'll get into that a little bit later.
Wow, thank you for that. That was impressive. So, what actually happens in a woman's body when she's chronically overgiving and overfunctioning?
Thank you for that question. So, I will share. When women live in constant states of responsibility and pressure, the body interprets that, just as Marisol was saying before, as stress. So then the brain signals to the adrenal glands to release cortisol, which is a hormone in your body. It's the stress hormone to keep us going. But short bursts of cortisol are helpful. But what happens is when we're in this chronic state of high cortisol, over time, that's going to influence your blood sugar regulation. It's going to weaken the gut lining, just like Marisol mentioned before, increase inflammation in your body. And we know that chronic inflammation leads to chronic disease. It's going to interfere with your thyroid function, which is exactly what happened to me. I had gotten hypothyroidism. And your reproductive hormones get out of whack too. So, like Marisol mentioned before, you have trouble maybe getting pregnant, if you're someone who's trying to do that. So this is why we often see issues like leaky gut and autoimmune conditions, insulin resistance, diabetes, chronic fatigue, aches and pains, di diabetes in high achieving women who actually appear to be very successful on the outside, but their body is starting to get cooked.
Wow, great explanation.
Thank you.
The Therefore, why do so many women struggle to stop overgiving, even when they know that it's hurting them?
Okay, so going back to the identity. So many women learned in early life that being helpful, competent, and accommodating earn them praise, right, and belonging. And that pattern becomes deeply ingrained into our identity. And so when we consider saying no or slowing down, that can often trigger a lot of guilt and fear of disappointing other people. And there's a strong cultural messages that women actually should be able to handle everything. They should be able to handle their career, their family, their health, look really good, look sexy, be that perfect everything to people, right? But when we do that, our biology doesn't work that way. So we are designed to be in balance. And when we constantly override that balance, our body starts to push back and it'll let you know what the message is that I mentioned before.
Yeah, I know that deeply resonates with many, many women. And so thank you for that. If
Yeah.
exhaustion is not honorable, not a badge of honor, then what does healthy success actually look like biologically?
So thank you for that question. So healthy success looks very differently in the body. So instead of running on adrenaline and caffeine, you actually wake up with natural energy. Your blood sugar stays stable throughout the day. You're having stable mind and a stable mood, and your digestion works right. So you're not constantly in the bathroom, either for constipation or for diarrhea reasons, or just plain flatulence. You sleep deeply and you wake up feeling refreshed. You have that get up and go. And your mood is steady and your mind is clear. And that's what happens really when you keep those four pillars of health that I mentioned before in place. So constantly we're, thinking about how am I going to nourish myself? How am I going to move to keep my body at its best? Making sure you spend time restoring at the end of the day and during the day with the breathing. And also making sure you're connecting with yourself and other people, nature, your higher power, and your higher purpose.
Well, that's certainly a comprehensive answer to what actually happens on the inside. I think frequently what happens on the outside is different than what happens on the inside. So, if a woman listening today feels seen in this conversation, seen and heard, what is one powerful step that she can take in the next 24 hours to begin shifting out of stress-driven living?
Perfect. One step that you can take is looking at the four pillars of health that I mentioned to you. Okay. So is your area going to be eating maybe a healthy breakfast, filled with healthy fats, protein, and fiber? So you have constant blood sugar during the day and you're not being tempted by the ultra processed foods that we're surrounded by. And another thing to do is maybe it's movement. Maybe that's your pillar where you would need to go for a 20-minute walk. Give yourself that gift of time to, your body thrives on movement. And so just doing that, you can clear your head a lot and relieve some of that stress. And doing maybe restoration is your pillar you need to work on. Restoring by deep breathing and sleeping better. Maybe even just going to sleep 1 hour earlier than you normally do. And just pay attention to that. Or the fourth one would be to maybe is connection where you need to spend more time. So any of those areas, whatever resonates with you, would be the most important one, the most important step to take.
Yeah, thank you for that. I understand that you have a free gift for members of the audience.
Yes,
So the title of the gift is Calm the Storm, Your Guide to Reducing Cortisol Naturally. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
sure. So it's just a simple guide that goes over the pillars that I just mentioned in there and what you can do to naturally restore your cortisol so you can lessen that stress hormone in your body. and feel more in balance that I had mentioned about.
And I'll put the link in the book in the chat. I just want to make sure that it works. So I want to go ahead and do that. And does anybody else have any other questions that they want to ask Terry? Um, I think that what you did was pretty comprehensive, and it's certainly something that many women experience. Overgiving, and it's amazing to see just what happens to a person on the inside biologically, and how all these things on the outside are affecting what's going on biologically, because we are biologically connected, and one thing affects another. And so is there one thing, one final word that you want to say, Terry, before we end this conversation?
Thank you for that. One thing that I love to think about is a mantra for every day as my North Star. So, in a world where we are bombarded with external distractions, this is my mantra. I'm a Zen monk amidst of a war. So it gets me to like get back into my peacefulness, right? So think of a mantra that can settle you down. I don't know if that's the one that resonates with you, but that's the one that I think about. I'm a Zen monk amidst of a war. And it just brings me back to I'm in control. I go inward to be at peace.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all the questions.
So I just wanted to review the link because I don't know if I have. That was an outstanding presentation, and okay, yeah, I guess it did come up. So um, it's in the chat anyway. Your book, your ebook's in the chat. So I guess um, anybody have any questions?
Well, I thank you, Terry, very much. But I have a question. A lot of people aren't aware of how much stress they're under. Are there some body things that we can just start to notice that would make it easier to know, hey, this is a time that I need my mantra or I need some breathing?
Yeah. Well, if you start getting feelings start getting anxious, it's a good trigger, a reminder to do some deep belly breathing. Like Cindy mentioned about, I also recommend the 448 method. Breathing in for 4, holding on a count for 4, and then letting out through the mouth actually is what I recommend through a straw as if you're breathing through a straw. And so one the other things you can recognize is tenseness in your belly. So that's a really good like, oh, I think I need to do some deep belly breathing, or I think I need to take a walk, or I think I need to rest. Just taking a little 5-minute rest can be so impactful. As far as, did you want any more ideas for a body? But it's if you're having even a slight headache, oh, maybe I'm feeling stressed, and maybe actually I need some magnesium to kind of help with that. A lot of people don't think of magnesium, but magnesium is so powerful for helping to reduce stress. So when you want to relax some more, it's like the anti anxiety miracle mineral.
So
They don't
we
tell you that in
actually
the doctor's offices, do they?
Right.
we
Mm.
actually have an entire video that's available now until Sunday afternoon on that exact topic.
Perfect.
with Brenda. So, but I know that you said that you wanted to reduce people's cortisol. I don't know if you actually define that. Could you define that?
So there's a bunch of things we talked about today to do that, right? So one of the pillars is to eat real whole food. Okay, so nourishing your body with real whole food can help with reducing cortisol because your body recognizes real whole food and it doesn't recognize refined carbs and sugars as good fuel for your body. Okay, so by just doing that one thing can be very helpful. Also, nourishing your body with proper hydration. That's instrumental with setting yourself up like for a good day, right? So when you do that, it puts less stress on the body. You don't want to be in a state of dehydration that puts stress on the body. So if you take care of making sure you're nourishing your body with proper hydration, adding a little sea salt in there, maybe a little electrolytes, very helpful. And then the exercise that you do, now if you're somebody who's under a lot of stress, you're not going to want to like do a lot of exercise because that'll just put more stress on your body. But taking a good walk, doing some stretching, some wall sits, some squatting, some kettlebell swings, perhaps, those things can be very good at reducing cortisol. Another thing could be connecting more with other people, your supportive, loving relationships when you're connecting, that can increase the oxytocin hormone and naturally reduce the cortisol. So when we feel connected to one another, that'll help. So the guide will help to outline all those different things for you. But that's just a few things. I mean, you could do also something like ashwagandha and rhodiola, experiment with them because that's a natural adaptogen, or those are natural adaptogens that when you're under a lot of stress can help you be more calmer and balanced too. So there's so many different things you can do, but that's just a sampling.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate both your knowledge, Terry, and Phil Mack for bringing that knowledge out. So I think we could take a little bit of a 5-minute break because we've been at this already for almost an hour. And we'll set up for our next speaker, which should be done fairly quickly. But if anyone has any questions during the break or anything like that, it won't be on the recording, but it will be, you know, fun.